Hello, I'm Ignace Aleya from ToleratedCinematics.com, and today I will be showing you how to create this project. Alright, so that's pretty cool, but for this tutorial you will need Trapcode particular, but if you don't have that, you can't follow along. If you don't wish to follow this tutorial, or you want to support the channel, or you don't have the plugin, you can actually download this template on our website, and we made it so that you don't need any plugins while using it, so you can just change the text, render it out, and you're ready to go. But for those that do want to know, of course, here is the tutorial. I have here my image, and I will create a new composition, make this 1920 by 1080, so full HD, and rename it main comp and make it around 10 seconds long. Click OK. I will drag my image in here, well, just my image, there we go. And of course I will have to scale it down a little bit, so I'll scale it just so it fits my composition right here. Okay, and then I will reposition it to whatever I want it to be. Now what I will do is make it a 3D layer, so toggle the switches and make this a 3D layer, press P on the keyboard and just put it in space around like 10,000, so okay, there we go. And of course we'll have to scale it up again, so press S on the keyboard and scale it up again to fit the composition. So now this is pulled way back into space, and we can use this to actually animate a camera too a little bit. So we'll create a new camera. 35 looks okay, maybe make it 28 and click OK. And then we're going to take a new null object and also make this a 3D layer, and then link our camera to our null object. I will press P on the keyboard for that null and also zoom in a little bit until we actually see our image, or we can, well, just scale up your image again, that will do fine. And then we'll go and create a new light this time. So right here we're going to create a light. We're going to rename it to emitter, because it has to, well, you need to give it that name so that our plugin Trapcode particular is going to recognize this as an emitter. Type light is point is okay, color doesn't matter, all these things, click OK. Now of course your background image is going to disappear, and that's because we added a light, and it's also affecting well, our background. But because our background that is so far in distance, it's actually black because it doesn't catch any light anymore. So we're going to press A twice on the keyboard, and that's going to reveal all the options for our light, or actually all the dynamics for 3D. So right here you see accept lights on. If we check this off, we're going to see our image again. Okay, so we have our first emitter. The first thing that we want to do is actually drag it down. Of course, I have to scale up my image just a little bit more. It's not in my scene correctly. Okay, I will go to my emitter and drag it down here and pull it way back into space, like so. And then we're going to press P on the keyboard. Actually, we can position it up a little bit like so. And we're going to create a new keyframe for our position. And then we're going to move ahead, like maybe around 100 frames, which means like around 3 to 4 seconds. And we're going to zoom in our light all the way up to, let's say, 5,000 for now. And now we have the animation of our light going into space up to 5,000. So if we go here to our pen tool and convert vertex tool, we can actually click on these dots and drag out these lines, and that way we can curve our light just a little bit. So we can click over here, drag it out as well, and then we're going to give it the impression that it's coming from below, going up. And well, actually we can put it like that and go to our selection tool and put this dot around right here. Maybe put this one right here and do something like this right here. Okay, so now it's coming from the bottom, it's crossing the sea or whatever, and then it's flying upwards, and here is our well, our fireworks that is going to explode. So we have this kind of animation which looks really cool. Well, of course you're not going to see anything. And we're going to click on this keyframe, right click, keyframe assistance, easy ease, and that's going to make it come to a soft stop. Now what I want to do is actually create a new solid, and I'm going to rename this flare. I'm going to be using Video Copilot's optical flares for this, and if you're going to the source type, it's 2D. If we're going to set this at track lights, it's just going to track our light like so. And of course toggle the switches to make the screen mode screen. Go to options, and here I already made a custom one, so this is a simple glow. I just deleted some of the other presets, and you can color it to whatever you want, so maybe something gold looking like so, and I will click OK and OK. And there we have our glow now. So currently you see the light, and sometimes that can get in the way to actually see your scene. A quick tip, Ctrl-Shift-H is going to hide these things for you, and then you can just toggle between this so you can actually see your flare here. I'm actually going to make it white right here, and then I'm going to click OK. And right here I will give it another color, like orange kind of color, something golden. Okay, Control H, and there we go. So now we have a white dot in the center, and maybe scale it down to 50, brighten it up to 200, and there we go. So this flare is now following our light, and actually I want it brighter than this. I'm going to cancel, make this white again, and just go back in here, because sometimes, like right here, we have the global color, and this one is what we should have changed. Okay, there we go. This is going to give us a little bit better results, like so, and maybe make this additive. Okay, this is looking better. So it's a little bit playing around with these things, and there we go, we have our light. And of course at the end I want my light to be a little bit smaller, so I will click on the scale on the stopwatch for the scale, press U on the keyboard and drag this keyframe all the way to the beginning, or like let's say right over here, a little bit back. Okay, right over here, so when it's going up in its curve, and then at the end I want it to be very small, something like 10. Okay, Control H to see it again, and now we have this kind of animation. Okay, so this is exactly what I'm looking after, and then right here I'm actually going to trim this solid all the way till the end of that keyframe, so it actually disappears after that. And now what we can do is go to our light again, Ctrl-Shift-H to see it, then duplicate it, press P on the keyboard and click on its position. We're going to try and offset it a little bit, like a little bit down here, maybe offset it a little bit to the right, and we're actually, well, we should have been on the exact spot here. So go back to your keyframe, the end keyframe, click on position, and that's going to allow you to move everything together like so. And there we go, we have this, move it maybe up a little bit. Now we can take this dot and maybe, well, deselect everything, click on the light and just take this single dot and actually position it like maybe right over here. And let's make it, give it another twist. And let's see if this looks all right. Okay, and then let's duplicate it again and maybe position this one over here, and then at the end we can maybe position this one here and rotate it a little bit again. Now we have these kind of lights coming from all over the place, going to their position to be shot at, so to explode in fireworks. So we can offset this as well. So if you offset them, they're going to have a kind of delay. And there we go, we have them flying together all the way till the top, and right here they want to explode. What I've done right here is actually I used my fireworks that I created in a pack, which you can download on our, well, you can buy them on our website. We have 15 pre-made fireworks elements right here, and like the golden fireworks, I like this one very much, so I'm going to take like a golden one, maybe a red one, and a blue one. And actually, if you don't want to buy these fireworks, that's fine. You can actually follow my other tutorial where I explain how I've created these. So I have a tutorial on how to create fireworks, and then you will have to follow that one to be able to continue with this tutorial. So I'm going to drag and drop one of my fireworks right here. I'm going to change the blending mode to screen, and then I'm just going to position them at the end of one of these lights. And then of course I want to position it, well, I want to position my fireworks on top of that light, and of course I have to scale it down to something like 50, and then reposition it right over here. Then take another one and maybe position this one to be screen as well, and click on the lights. Well, this one I'll just offset it like this and just put this one here, offset, and add another one, screen, and put this one right here, and also scale it well down a little bit. And of course, because the anchor point isn't centered, it's not perfect, so I will drag this down and also scale this one and reposition it. And there we go. So now we have our fireworks exploding in that part. So let's preview. Okay, the blue one is a little bit too soon, so now we'll have to offset each of these fireworks, of course, on the exact timing. So we have our blue one, which should explode right here, and that looks all right. Now we have the other one, right here. Okay. And now if we're going to preview this, we're going to get something like this. So of course you can go in here and go and actually do each light individually, because currently its name starts with anything, and you can actually go A, B, C like so. So you can actually rename every single light here to, for example, A, B, and C. And for this you will need to go into the options later on, but we can go in here and let's say that we want this one to be gold, so we want only to affect the one with C in this case. And then we can duplicate this one and go for B and make this one red, for example. So go into the options and change it to a red color, and then click OK and duplicate it again and make this one A, and also change this to a blue color, for example. And then we actually have the exact color of the fireworks that we see, so like this, and also color matchup. That's pretty cool. Then we can go into the fireworks and add a little bit of well, the perfect glow that you can download on our website for free at the freebies page. I have a video on that if you want to see that. And right here we can actually get to see some nice glow. So if we uncheck this, of course you have to go to the project file and first change your color 8 bits to 32, click OK, and that's going to help with our glow. So you're going to see in a second, there we have our glow. Looks really cool. And if we copy and paste this onto the other layers, we're getting something like this. And of course you can lower your threshold here to get more glow. And there we go. Okay, looking pretty nice. Okay, so you can play around with the glow and stuff like that, and then once you have done all these things, we can close each thing down, and we can actually, for now I will just unselect my video layers and my flares. I will create another solid layer, and here I want to make it particular, and I'm going to use effects trapcode trapcode particular right here. And then I'll go to the emitter, and currently it's set at point. I want to change this to lights and click OK. And currently it's not going to be following the lights, even though they're here. If I go Ctrl-Shift-H, it's not going to follow the lights, because if we go into the options, you see that lights with the name start with emitter. If we delete this, click OK, it's going to be following all the lights. And of course we want to zero out everything here, so and there we go. And now it's going to leave a nice trail at our lights here. Of course we can add a little bit of velocity and a little bit of randomness, and we can of course add a lot more, so maybe like 20,000 of these, and then go into the particle setting and make it really small. And then we're going to size random it a little bit. Okay. The life can be something like 1 or let's say 2. And then go into the size over the life, make them fade out like so. And also go into the opacity over life and make them flicker off. There we go. And actually, if you want a more detailed tutorial on this, on my tutorial for the fireworks, I'm going into this a little bit more detailed, but I'm just going over this as we have to do it over and over again. So the color can be whatever you want. So you can again go and duplicate this particular for each individual flare and make them each an individual color if you want to, by going to the options and saying you want this to be name A, for example. So let's do that for now. Let's give this one the letter C, and now it's only going to be on this one. Let's go A because that's blue, I remember. So let's make a nice blue flare, and right here we have it. And now we are going into the physics and air, turbulence field. We're going to affect the position right here, something like so, okay? Complexity can be something like 6, and the scale can be maybe 5. Now we get this a little bit more distance between each other. And there we go, looks pretty cool. You can also stack up things, so you can duplicate this and do some really crazy stuff with this. Okay, and then go to the particle again and maybe change the opacity to be a little bit lower, and also the randomness. You can max this out. Now we can change the color a little bit. So we can do two things. We can just change the color, or we can change it over life. And then if we go in the color over life tab, we can actually click on this third preset, which is actually a blue color. Just this color, I want to change it to something a little bit more bluish kind of. And there we go. And this one, I want to change it to something right over here. And there we go. Okay. And that way we can get something like this, which looks really cool, and also change the screen mode to something like add, and now we get a nice trail. So stack up these things whatever you want, but yeah, this is just a little preview on how to do something similar to this. Okay, so there we go, we have this, looks pretty neat. And now if we check on our blue fireworks again, and or flare for the blue, so I'm not sure where that one is. There we go. We have a nice flare. I'm going to hold Ctrl Shift H again, so it's only showing this, and we have this. Okay, so this is really beautiful. One thing that I want to do is actually, because the color of the blue is so nice, I actually want to make the background kind of complement this color, because currently it's a kind of yellow. I don't really like this image, to be honest, but it was all I could find. But I want to make it a little bit warmer, a little bit more like orange toned. Now it's more towards the yellow and brown colors. Blue, its complementary colors are actually orange, and you see this a lot in movies, that they kind of switch off with these movies, like you have blue lights and then like orange lights on the other side, and it does give a nice contrast. A lot of people like it, and then another part of the people don't like it. I do kind of like it because it's just a stylistic choice, but it's not for the realism, of course. So we're going for the curves, and we're going to add a little bit of reds in my image. And then I will go in here into the blue channel, and here I will take my blues away so it becomes orange. And of course this is way too much. You will drag this down and bring our blue up or down, so maybe something like this. And well, actually just don't take away that much blue, and just add a little bit of red, and maybe not so much for the shadows. And for the greens, we're going to take them away as well. So now we're getting something around here. Maybe take away a little bit more blue, so it becomes more orange. And now just by doing that, we make this image into this image, but I think it kind of complements the blue a little bit more. We can also add like a perfect glow to that image. And of course, it is going to be way too intense because of all these highlights, but we can fix that. Okay, and there we go. It's way too intense. But if we are going to increase our threshold here, it's going to be a little bit better. And of course, the intensity can be something like 0.7. And that looks also pretty nice. Okay, and now to top it off, we're also going to add another adjustment layer. And I'm going to add like one of my LUTs that you can also buy on our website, but you can just add a simple color grade, whatever you want. But I'm going to apply a color LUT, and I will pick something like wonderful, click OK, and then I will lower my opacity to something like 50, and that's going to give this a nice overlay like so. And there we go, so we have this, and then I'm also going to add like a small adjustment layer called vignette. So put this on top and go to our ellipse tool, and also click right here if you don't see your mask, subtract it, press F on the keyboard, set it at 350 or something like that, go to effect, color correction, curves, and just darken the edges a little bit to make them pop like so. Beautiful. And then one more thing that I want to do is of course add my text. So I will add my text right here, click on my layer, subscribe for more, and then I will just put it like so. And of course you can now add a gradient. If you don't know how to do that, check out my other tutorial on golden text in After Effects. I have a tutorial on that, and that will show you how to do that nice gradient as in the preview, so I'm not going to concentrate on that right now. I'm going to make this a 3D layer. Also go right here in the material options and accept lights, set this at off so we don't see a black text but our actual color. And then it's going to be affected by our 3D space. Then one more thing that we want to do is actually make it come up like fireworks. So what I have done is actually search for ball action right here, CC ball action. I apply this to my text, and actually what I did here is grid spacing. I set this to 1, and there we go, I have my text, and then I scattered it like, let's say 100 for now, ball size maybe 25. There we go. Actually, we can set this at 0 for now, and a twist angle of 90 and a rotation of 90. And then I actually keyframed all of these things like so. And I went a little bit further into space, well, into time on my timeline, and I set this at 0, 0, 0, 1, and this 100. Okay, and now if I'm going to play it back from here, I'll set my resolution at half so I can render it a little bit faster. I will actually get something like this, and of course you can just make it space out a little bit more, and I don't want it to be affected that much, so I'm going right here and change this to 45, and this also to 45, and also re-render this and let it take a few seconds longer. And now right click on these keyframes, keyframe assistance, easy ease to make them come to a slow stop. Okay, and then of course if you have a lot more fireworks, this is going to blend in a lot better, and you can also change the colors to whatever you want. And then at the end what I've done is actually clicked on my layer, edit, split layer, then I deleted CC ball action, so it's actually clean text, and I made this a few seconds longer or frames longer, clicked on this text, press T on the keyboard, set my opacity at 0, click on my opacity right here, went to the end of this and then set this at 100. Then I selected my two keyframes, I went to edit, copy, went back to this layer where the CC ball action is enabled, went to the beginning right here, and I went to edit, paste, then press U on the keyboard to actually reveal these keyframes, and then I went right click and then keyframe assistance, time, reverse keyframes, and now they're going to be from 100 to 0, and here from 0 to 10 to 100, and that's going to fade into my actual text while something like this is happening. So this is a pretty cool way to actually blend it together nicely. You have a lot of other cool ways to do it, which are way more time consuming but can give it really nice results, but for this works really nice, especially if you have a lot more fireworks going on. But I think this can really give you a really cool effect. And then lastly, what you should do, and actually before we make them 3D, let's make them 2D again. Select our text and go to layer, pre-compose it, move all the attributes, click OK, and then make it 3D. That way it's going to work a little bit better. Press A8 twice, lights, and check it. Okay, there we go. And now we have our text right here. And then let's do one last thing, and that's the camera movement. So go to beginning of your timeline, click on the position for your null that we created at the beginning of this tutorial, which is 3D, and then we're going to the end of our our timeline, and then we can zoom in all the way we want to. We can go a little bit further like this, and we can go back to our title and press P on the keyboard for this, and just position it a little bit back into space so it's still in frame. And then we're going to get something like this. So let's do one last preview so you can actually see what we created, and yeah. And there we have it. So the text didn't blend in too well, but you can just play around with the opacity there, move it a little bit, because currently you can see it a little bit less here. You can easily fix that, but yeah. But yeah, that's basically how to create that intro. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. If you did, give it a like and also subscribe to the channel for more. Thank you so much for watching, and goodbye.